Hello students, through this video I'll provide you a brief description about the Iqta system under the Delhi Sultanate. Iqta refers to a land, it is providing land in the form of salary instead of money. It originated or it started in Persia, that is present day Iran, and Western Asia. Iqta system was a land-based administrative system which was introduced by Sultan Iltutmish in the Indian subcontinent, the ruler of the slave, one of the most important ruler of the slave dynasty. And after Iltutmish, the Iqta system was followed by other sultans of the Delhi Sultanate. Alright. Delhi Sultans, they had divided their empire into several Iqtas or land. Now, when talking about the Delhi Sultanate, the Delhi Sultans, they had conquered, they extended their territories internally and externally. Now, how did they control their conquered territories? Who were appointed to look after the conquered territories? So, what did they do with the conquered territories? Did they directly rule by themselves, or they have appointed someone else to look after the conquered territories? Okay. So Delhi Sultans had divided their empire into several land or Iqtas and put them under the charge of officers called Iqtidars. These Iqtidars, they were generally the members of the royal family or a notable Amir or a noble. The Iqtas were the administrative units which were given to the officers in lieu of their service to the Sultan. So the Iqtas were given to they were administrative units which were given to the Iqtidars or to the officers in lieu of their services to the Sultan. So Iqtidars, they maintained large army. Iqtidars, they maintain large army, and whenever this army is required by the Sultan, they provide this army military help to the Sultans in times of war or whenever it is required. Iqtidars, they maintained law and order in his territory or Iqta, which were under his control, and protected the life of the people and their property. To provide all these services to the Sultan and take administrative tasks or responsibilities, Iqtidars, they collected revenue from their Iqtas. So to provide all these services, that means to maintain law and order, to take administrative tasks, and to meet the expenditure of the military, the Iqtidars, they collected revenue from these Iqtas, the Iqtas which were given to them by the Sultans. Okay, from the revenue thus collected, the Iqtidars administered expenditure or the maintenance of his army, his pay and other administrative expenditure. So the revenue which was collected by the Iqtidar from the Iqtas, with that revenue they meet the expenditure on the maintenance of his army. Then he took his salary also, his pay also, and the other administrative expenditure. Okay, and the remaining part, whatever is remained, it is deposited, the rest is deposited in the state treasury. The balance were called fawazil. So that is whatever is after collecting revenue, the Iqtidars, they spent the expenditure on the maintenance of army. He took salary, his pay also, and other administrative expenditures, and deposited the rest in the state treasury. The balance was called fawazil. But there were certain restrictions for the Iqtidars. They did not always enjoy hereditary power. That is, the Iqta could not be transferred from father to son. Okay, that means there were restrictions. Restrictions were imposed on Iqtidars. They did not always enjoy hereditary power. That is, the Iqta could not be transferred from father to son. The Sultan could take back the Iqta from the Iqtidar whenever he wanted. So this means the Iqtidars were not powerful in the Iqtas. To certain extent, to some extent, they were powerful, but they cannot control the Iqtas. They cannot impose their full authority in the Iqtas, because it was not hereditary and certain restrictions were imposed on the Iqtidars by the Delhi Sultans. The Iqtidars were liable to be transferred from one Iqta to another, ensuring that they did not become powerful. So, to curtail their power, the Iqtidars were transferred from one Iqta to another, ensuring that they did not become powerful in their Iqta. Besides, for any major decisions or military movements or suppose territorial expansion, Iqtidars, they had to take the permission from the Sultan. Without seeking permission from the Sultan, they cannot take any major decisions, whether it may be military movements or territorial expansion, whatever it is, they cannot take any major decisions by themselves. They had to take the permission of the Sultans. So, Iqtidars were basically administrative officers of Iqtas. But at the same time, we need to remember that the rules and restrictions on Iqtidars were strictly enforced only by the powerful and strong rulers or strong sultans. Okay. So, in case if the sultan or if the ruler proved to be weak and incompetent, then the Iqtidars can keep strong hold on their Iqtas. Like the later rulers of Delhi Sultanate, they proved to be too weak to keep a check on the growing power of the Iqtidars. They started ruling their Iqtas independently. Now, during the time of Ghiyasuddin Balban, during the time of Alauddin Khilji, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the Iqtidars, they couldn't become very powerful because their activities were checked and they were liable to be transferred from one Iqta to another, ensuring that they did not become powerful, and even they cannot take major decisions on military movements or territorial expansion or whatever. They cannot take decisions by themselves. They have to seek the permission of the sultans, from the sultans. So basically they were administrative officers of Iqtas during the time of the strong and powerful rulers. But in case if the ruler proved to be weak and incompetent, then the Iqtidars can keep strong hold on their Iqtas. So like the later rulers of the Delhi Sultanate, they proved to be weak and incompetent, and as a result what happened, they couldn't keep a check on the growing power of the Iqtidars. As a result, they started ruling their Iqtas independently. This is what all about Iqta system of Delhi Sultanate. Now, during the reign of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, the post of Iqtidar, it became hereditary. And finally, it was after Firoz Shah Tughlaq, the rulers proved to be weak and incompetent, and finally the Iqtidars, they became more and more powerful, and they started ruling their Iqtas independently. Okay, so this was all about Iqta system of Delhi Sultanate. Okay, I hope you can understand, and actually I want to give you a brief description of Iqta system because it's very important to know. If you want to know about the administration of Delhi Sultanate, it's very important to know about Iqta system, which is an important part of Delhi Sultanate's administration. Okay, thank you.